Hey guys, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of indoor plant care today, specifically repots and getting plants ready for the fall winter time. So I have some houseplants outside for my screened-in porch and all the way outside that I want to get ready to bring in. And then I also have some houseplants that are already inside that need a quick little repot. So let's go ahead and get started. So here are the plants that I'm going to be working with inside right now. So I need to replant this peperomia. I don't remember the variety, but it has definitely gotten pretty big and it's ready for a new pot. I have this orchid here. This is a jewel orchid and it's so beautiful. It's ready for a new pot. It's got a little baby there. And then I have this right here, which is a Syngonium. See if I got the tag. Painted or frosted. Let me see. I'll just read the tag because that's better. Macrophyllum ice frost. Looks like some letters are missing there. But anyway, this is my second time with this plant. The first time I had it, it lived for a while and then it ended up dying. So I wanted another one because I do love the leaves on this plant. And then I have an orchid that I've been rehabbing in water. And I'm ready for this plant to go back into its orchid potting mix. And then I have this elephant ear, and I got this on clearance over like early this year in the winter time. This has been on the screen-in porch and I want to get it cleaned up and in a new pot and put back into the house. And then I have one more plant that we actually can go get right now. Let's go. Heading to the living room to get a plant. This is a philodendron, and let me see, Philodendron what? Glorious. There it is, Philodendron glorious. This plant is a climbing plant and it is struggling because, let me turn, it needs something to cling to, and because it's in such a small pot, it dries out super quickly. So I'm gonna plant it in something bigger and give it a pole. So after I'm done repotting these plants, we're going to stumble around outside and I'll show you some of the house plants that I have outside and some of the other plants that will be coming back in this fall. I do not want to wait like I usually do and wait till like mid to late October to start getting things ready and bringing them in. Not everything's coming back in. I've already been purging a lot of plants. I just can't have them all. I can't do it this winter. It's just too difficult taking care of so many different things with so many different needs. And then plus I got, pets and all. I got too much stuff going on I need to lighten the load a bit. So let's repot these plants. This is my repotting mat. I used this mat all winter long to plant my seedlings when I was starting seeds indoors. So it's nice to have it. I have another repotting mat that is like really big and it's outside. It's got my potatoes in it currently. Let's see if I've got a shovel. Okay, so if you've been watching me for a while and you've seen other houseplant videos that I have, I keep my soil, my potting soil in a bin like this. It just makes it easier, keeps the soil nice and like clean. It's easier to scoop it instead of keeping it in a bag somewhere. So that's what I like to do. Now let's see which plant to start with. I kind of want to start with the elephant ear right here. So we'll take this guy. Here's the pot he's going into. It's nothing fancy. I got it out of the garage. I'm not even gonna I might clean the sides of it. It's a little spider webby, but it's gonna go in here, and I think this will be a great size up for this particular plant. When you're repotting any sort of plant, you don't want to double up the size of the pot. So I don't want this pot to be 2 to 4 times the size of this one. This is a great size up for this particular plant because it gives it about 1 inch on all sides and directions. However, if I pull this out of here and there's not a ton of root system there, we might need to downsize this pot. It just depends on how the roots look in here. Now, if you pull this out and it's got tons of roots and they're healthy and they're all like, you can tell that the plant is happy, then definitely pot it up into the next size up. If you pull your plant out of the pot, I don't know how many times I've done this where I pulled it out thinking like, oh, this plant is ready for another pot, it's good to go, and the roots didn't even make it to the bottom of the pot. And it still had plenty of space to grow in this one. Then I just put it right back where it is instead of bumping it up when it's not ready. All right, so let's see what we're working with here. Definitely it's grown out of the pot. This is one sign that your plant needs to be repotted, is you have roots coming out of the bottom. Now, some plants do like to be a little bit root bound, and you can leave this for a little bit longer. Like, it would be fine, it wouldn't hurt the plant as long as you're keeping the soil watered properly. Then it can be okay for a little while. But typically once you see roots coming out of the bottom, you know that this plant is ready for the next size up pot. So let's pull this out. And we're gonna be very careful because we don't wanna damage these. Sometimes if you've got a lot of roots wrapping around outside of the pot, you're gonna have to break them in order to get them out, and that's normal. So this isn't too bad. It looks really good. The roots look healthy, they're nice and white. Not all plant roots are white, just so that you know. Sometimes they're yellow, sometimes they're purple, sometimes they're red. It just depends on the type of plant. But these guys look really good, healthy. I don't even see any pests in the soil. Sometimes when you're buying plants and bringing them home, you'll see centipedes, roly-polies, things like that. This plant looks pretty good. That doesn't mean that there's not anything in there, but I prefer to not see any bugs in my soil. Okay, so move that aside. And the next thing that I'm going to do is fill this with soil and fertilizer. I'm gonna fill the soil halfway, then I'm gonna add some worm casings, then I'm gonna add my plant, and then top it off with soil. All right, I've got my soil filled halfway. I add a little bit of worm casings. A little goes a long way, so don't do too much. Worm casings are a fertilizer that breaks down over time. So you add this once, and maybe like in the next 6 months or so, depending on your plant, add a little bit more, but a little goes a long way. It lasts for a while in the soil. I should be wearing my gloves, but I don't have any gloves that are available at the second. So the worm casings are dark, the soil is dark, and you can't really tell, but they're in there and they're all mixed up. So now let's get this ready. Now is the time to decide if I want to zhuzh up the roots in the soil. You don't always have to. If your roots are healthy, they're coming out like this, they're not all wrapped around. You can like pull them down a bit. Like I'll do little things like this. Pull out a little bit. See, I broke that. That's the thing. You don't want to break off too much of the roots, but you want to loosen them a bit. I used to be the person who was like and like tearing this up. Like this is going to be great for the plant. I haven't found that just like destroying the root system and doing all that actually is super helpful for the plants. I like to kind of leave it intact a bit, and especially in this case where it's not overly root bound. So this plant still will push roots out of this area, and it will still be able to root into the new soil. One thing that I do like to do is pull down some of this crusty top layer, and because I don't like, sometimes that top layer of soil can get real nasty and cruddy, And I just like to remove that because sometimes you do have pests and things that enter from the top first. And then I like, because then I can have a fresh new layer of soil at the very top of this plant. All right, that's all I'm gonna do. I don't wanna cause any more disturbance. So this plant is sitting in a really great position at the top of the soil that I am comfortable with. You want it to be under this rim level, not sticking out too tall, because then you'll have soil pour over once you add all the soil in. You don't want, when you water your plant, you don't want the soil to like flow out of the top of the pot. Soil naturally will come out of the bottom just because you have drainage holes there, but you don't want, when you water, your soil to be able to boil up and pour over. So you want your plant to sit down lower in the pot, lower than the rim, and then we're gonna backfill with more soil. Okay, and I like to do this to my pots. I like to smack them to help get that soil to shift around comfortably. Now this, to me, this is a good level of soil in this pot. It's perfect. You can see that the soil is just below the rim, which looks great. And now this plant will need to be watered in, and I'll put it on a drip tray. And I'm also going to clean the foliage because this is an elephant ear. They are so prone to spider mites. Like, it, just assume that if you get an elephant ear, it will have spider mites if it doesn't already have it. They can be managed by leaf cleaning and with using different insecticidal sprays that can be so helpful. So I'm gonna go water this and I'll be right back. So I'm gonna show you how I clean the leaves of my elephant ears. I don't do this every time I water them, but I do it every so often, especially if I notice the leaves are starting to get dusty, or if I notice any sort of buildup of spider mites. You can definitely see that this leaf is very dusty. It's been out on the back porch, so it's had lots of dirt when everything that's in the air has been blown onto this plant. So let me just show you real quick what I do. Again, I don't do this every time. This is just when I notice like a buildup of dirt. So I would say maybe once a month is good to come down or bring your plant to the sink and rinse off the foliage and go ahead and do what I'm about to do to it. Let me get this water on a little bit stronger. There. So then I take the tiniest drop of soap. This is dish soap. It's not on the plant for very long. You can use hand soap, just anything that can suds up a bit and clean that plant off. This plant has never been cleaned. The leaves have never been cleaned since I bought it earlier this year. So this is the first leaf cleaning that it's getting, and it should have gotten one like a while ago. So I'll clean the stems too. Take a little soap from there. I'll go ahead and do that. You do not want to leave this soap on the plant for very long. This is not a professional type of plant washing soap. In matter of fact, you probably shouldn't. You should probably use something that's like a clean and clear type of soap, but this is what I have on hand, so I'm going to use it. Hand soap is probably a little bit more milder than dish soap. Use what you have available. Don't keep it on the plants very long. Rinse it right off. I try not to rinse it over the soil because I don't want the soap in the soil. So I try to kind of rinse it over on the other side of the sink. And I pull this over here. There. Do a double rinse just to make sure you got everything. Alright, this pot feels pretty heavy, so I think I did do a good job watering in. I'll just give it a little bit more water. this looks really good, nice and clean. The pot looks cleaner. Let me rinse this pot off a bit too, since it was outside. All right, let's get a tray. So I've got my tray. This will sit up here, and I'm gonna let this sit right here to drain outside of the sink, because I will be bringing other plants in here to rinse off and to water. The next plant we're gonna do is this Philodendron glorious, and I like this plant so much because it has a fuzzy leaf, and I love fuzzy leaves. If you know me and you've been watching my videos, you know that if it's fuzzy, I want it. I have so many fuzzy herbs in the garden, and it's not as fuzzy as some of the other fuzzies, but it's like a light fuzz, and I like that too. So this plant I've had probably for a few months now. It looks really sad right now. This philodendron is prone to spider mites and mealybugs. It can secrete a sap on this plant as well. So sometimes you'll see like little sticky drops on the back of the leaves. That's normal. That is said to be like a sweet sap to draw in ants as a like a beneficial bug for the plant. I don't know, but that's just what I've heard. And a lot of my philodendron do produce that sap on the back of the plants that you might feel sometimes that's sticky. It's totally okay. Just if you are worried, give your plants a quick check over for pests and mites, because sometimes like thrips, I believe it's thrips, that they themselves will produce a sap on the plant, and that's kind of like a telltale sign that you might have thrips. So definitely just something to be aware of. So now I'm going to fill this up halfway with soil. This pot came out of the garage, so it is also not super clean, but I'm going to fill it up with soil, and then I'm going to halfway with soil, and then I'm going to actually add some worm casings to it. And this was a dead leaf that was inside of there. I'm going to use that to cover the drainage hole. Perfect. All right, so that's covered. Worm casings, just a little bit. It goes a long way. There. So let's pull this guy out. He's in desperate need of a trellis. Now I don't see where he's root bound. He's not root bound at all. So in this situation, I'm gonna plant him. I'm not gonna zhuzh up anything. I'm just gonna put him straight into this pot. He definitely needs this pot because this other pot is way too tiny. And I have my stake here. I'll put my stake in last. But let's go ahead and fill this up with soil and get this guy stable. This philodendron has been a very, very thirsty plant, and this is why I'm planting it in this pot, this larger pot. So if you're a new plant parent, I wouldn't go bigger than what your plant actually needs, but because I've done this for so long, I know how to water this plant so that it's not overwatered. But basically how I do that is that because this plant's not root bound, I know that it's still growing and that I can water this probably once a month at this point, and it won't have any adverse effects on the plant. All right, let's put that in there. Then I've got clips I'm going to use to help stabilize. This plant has been suffering so much because it dries out so incredibly quickly. That is why I'm putting it in a pot that is larger than what's normal, because it dries out so quickly, and philodendrons tend to be a little bit thirstier than other plants that I have in my collection. So I do feel comfortable potting this in something much larger than I typically would another plant. So I'm gonna see if I can get some little clips around just to help stabilize this. When you're growing things on poles and you're clipping them, you want to make sure that as your plant is growing and getting bigger, that you upgrade the clips to bigger clips. This plant right now, this stem here is pretty small, so it's easy to clip with these small clips. But if I left these clips on long term, it could potentially choke out this stem as it grew, as it tried to grow, and then it didn't have the space to do what it needed to do. Okay, that looks really good. So let's go give this a water. Okay, so now we've got these two littles that I want to pot up super quickly, and I'm going to use this container for this plant, and then I'm actually going to use this container for this plant because it actually was perfect size. So let's do these two. This one is a peperomia. I'll try to look up the exact variety of it. But it gets a huge leaf, which is super cute. So let's go ahead and put some soil in here. A little bit of soil. We'll do this half up soil too. And I did not clean these pots purposefully because I don't think they need to. Neither of the plants had any issues. If there was a pest issue or a disease issue, I would have cleaned those pots or used new pots, but no, it's okay. Your plants will be fine. At least mine have. Mix that up a little bit. All right, let's pop this guy out. I've had him for, when did I get you? Probably maybe a year, maybe not. The roots on here look really good. Not too overly rooted, but not like under rooted, if that makes sense. We move some of this soil around, pop you in, give you a press. Now we're gonna add some more soil. All right, this guy looks good. He's got a nice round pot, so his roots can grow out wide. That is super cute. So then I'm gonna stick it in here. And this will be where this plant stays. I'll water that in, and that is super cute. I love it. All right, we'll just sit you there. Next, we're gonna pull out the Louisa. I think I put a little bit too much soil in this pot already. This is my first jewel orchid. I'm trying to build up my orchid knowledge and care for them, like do better. I would love to have just a big collection of orchids that are just blooming so beautifully. I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, this guy is interested to see. He has such an awkward shape. You know, he's kind of like this. He's kind of difficult to get out of here. Let's see. Might have to tear this. Ooh, perfect. Ah. Go me for leaving stuff out. Okay. Who's better? Ooh, okay, there's some babies in here. Look at that. Look at those. That looks nice. And his soil is pretty good too. I'm gonna collect some of that also to put back in here. But he's got some babies under there that'll be coming up very soon to the surface. Put that back in there. wonder, should I put him in an orchid pot? This is an orchid pot right here. It's got the holes. I wonder if he'd be happier. I was saving it for that orchid right there, but no, I'll just leave him in this. I'll just leave him here. So because this is an orchid, I want to use a drier soil mix. So that's bark, that's perlite, all of those things that add really good drainage to soil. So I'm gonna add some of this orchid mix to it. Put that right there. And then this soil that was his is super good and dry, and it's very fine. All right. This looks really, really good. Can't believe he's got all those babies in there. That's so exciting. So I like to do my, like, depending on the type of plant, I like to make a mixture of soil. So the bottom has the more moist things, but my potting soil down here also has orchid bark in it too, and perlite. So it's gonna be good for that added drainage that orchids like to have. All right, so let's put his tag back on there. And this plant, once those babies start to come up, he'll probably need to be repotted again. The way this growth is, I don't like it a ton, but I'm not gonna do anything about it. I'm just gonna allow it to kind of grow the way it wants to grow, and then we'll see what happens. I might be able to like propagate at some point, or feel like propagating at some point to get a different shape out of this plant, but for now it's fine. So I decided not to repot this orchid that I have over here in water just yet. I need to get more orchid bark and then one other item before I repot this, because I want to have everything I need before I do anything to this plant. I want it to be successful when I put it back into its soil medium. So I'm gonna go to the store, don't know when, later, but let's work on this plant right here, this Syngonium. And I got this from a place called Groovy Plants Ranch, which I love. They're here in Ohio, and they have so many like different cool plants. So I love shopping there. I get a lot of unique items that I can't find like in my typical shopping places, like the grocery store, Lowe's, Home Depot, stuff like that. At greenhouses and family-run greenhouses, you can get things that are a little bit different, a little bit unique, a little bit more special. So yeah, so this guy is definitely ready for a new pot. It's got roots coming out of the bottom. I think this pot size will be perfect for it. So let's go ahead and add our soil. I'm gonna add my worm casings. Okay, so now let's go ahead and pull this guy out and check out what's going on. Your plants, typically, it just depends on the plant, but they don't always need to be repotted every few months, or sometimes once a year, sometimes every few years. It just depends on the plant. This guy, see, this is like the heavy root bound that I'm talking about, when you've got a plant that is so root bound all the way up to where the roots are going around the pot at the top. That's how you know, like, okay, this guy is really root bound. He's got rows of roots going around in circles around the pot. So he definitely is ready for a new adventure. So I'm going to just pull these down like last time. I'm gonna pull some roots out from the side, trying not to damage them as best as I can. This guy probably could go into a pot that's even bigger than this, just based on how long and big these roots are. Let me see about this. Is this one? No. I'm gonna keep it in this guy right here, and then might have to do a repot sooner than I was thinking I would for this guy again. Let me see. Yeah, because he has room to expand to the sides. He has room to expand down to the bottom. So we'll keep him in this like I thought, and then we'll check back in on him probably in like a few months or so and see where he's at. Yeah, look at this. So root bound. Beautiful roots. And you see how these ones are orange, like they're not white. The roots up here closer to the surface are whiter. And then as you get down, they're like brown, tan roots here. So just be aware of that. Like not all roots are white and they are still healthy. They look really good. He just needs a new pot and fresh soil. All right, let's put this guy in. This will be perfect. The way he's sitting in this pot is perfect for me. Not too high, not too low. So I'm gonna add some soil in. All right, here we're back. All right, let's push this down. I like to push the soil in and then smack the sides to help it settle. We want to make sure our soil level is not above the rim, because we don't want our soil pouring out when we water this plant. All right, so let's put his tag in. I have been trying to keep all the tags that I get with my plants because it's easy for me to forget what the plants' names are. So I like to keep the tags on them for as long as possible. Alrighty, let's go water this guy in, and that is the last one for repotting indoors, and we're gonna go outside. So here are all the plants we repotted together. We've got the elephant ear, the philodendron, the Louisa jewel orchid. Is that Louisa? I feel like I don't know if it's Louisa, but it is a jewel orchid. And then we've got the peperomia, and we've got this Syngonium. So here are a few things that need some work that are potted. I've got this Maranta here. This was actually, I bought it, it was beautiful. It started to die in the house, and I put it outside for summer and it looks beautiful. This I want to repot into something different, not a hanging basket, and then bring it in. I've got this alocasia here that needs to be repotted and brought in very soon. I've got this alocasia here that's variegated. I've had this about 2 years now. It needs a new pot and to be brought back inside. It's beautiful. It's been outside all summer long. Here's my other alocasia. This one spent the summer outside, and it's doing okay. It had much bigger leaves, but I had it under a tree and the birds have been crapping on it. With the drought weather we've been having, I've been very bad at getting out here and keeping it watered. So it suffered a bit, but what I'm gonna do is pop it out of the pot, like shake off most of the soil as much as I can, and then repot it with fresh soil, clean the pot, clean the leaves, probably use a systemic pest treatment in the soil, then bring it in the house for winter. But it's beautiful. It had such huge leaves in the house, but it got so top heavy it fell over, and that's when I put it outside. I have 2 of these pulmonaria plants here, and they bloom a really pretty tropical bloom. They have not bloomed for me though, but I grew them from seed, and I keep them inside for winter. They are going to be repotted, this one and then this smaller one. Both need repots so bad. So these two will be taken care of before winter. I definitely am going to get these. I want all of my house plants in before October. So that will be the transition for them. They'll get repotted out here, treated with a systemic, the leaves cleaned. Then they're going to spend some time in the screen and porch adjusting before they go in the house. Now let me show you my big plant here. Okay, this is Big Mama, and her, I can't remember exactly what she is now. She was reclassified. I think it starts with a T followed by a bunch of other letters. I'll put it on the screen, but I don't know if I'm keeping her this year. She constantly has a battle with thrips every single year, and I'm just kind of tired of fighting thrips indoors because they do spread to everything else. I don't really have a place that I can keep her where there aren't any other plants that can be affected by her inability to get rid of her thrips. No matter how much I treat her with the systemic, with leaf cleaning, all that kind of stuff, she just constantly has them. So I might put her up on Facebook Marketplace for somebody to come and get. I don't know yet. I also thought about defoliating her before I bring her inside, and that might help, you know, her start with no leaves, treat her with a systemic, and then, like, you know, just kind of put her in a corner by herself. That might be something I try, but we'll see. I have time, but I'm still on the fence at this moment. Hi, Poof. Hi, Mama. Are you not broody anymore? Oh, good. Good girl, you sweet now. She's sweet. Hi. I have a few more plants that I'm bringing in this winter. They're over this way for us to go check out. This is my variegated lemon tree, and this has to come inside every single year. It's not hardy to my zone. So to bring this in, it's the exact same thing. I'm gonna pull it out of the pot, zhuzh up the soil, get rid of any bugs that are like around the outer portions. I'm not going to break it down to the point where there's no soil, because that is just so stressful on a plant. I'll add in a systemic and then refresh the soil, add a tiny bit of fertilizer, not a ton, because when you're bringing them in for winter, they're gonna go dormant, and you want to allow them to be able to go dormant and not feel like they have to continuously push out new growth. So this one, I don't think it got a new pot earlier this year, so I'm not gonna change the pot, but definitely freshen up that soil, add in the systemic, a tiny bit of fertilizer, and then clean off the foliage and bring it in the house. It's beautiful though, just gorgeous. And the new leaves coming out pink, so cute. I have this black, I think it's Black Magic elephant ear here. This is in a container that's typically an outdoor container. I probably will bring this in as a broken down bulb. So no foliage, no roots, no soil, no nothing. Just bring it as a bulb and store it over winter. It already has spider mites. You can see these areas here are from spider mite damage. That's typical for elephant ears. I'm not upset at it. It just is what it is. We hose off the leaves, we treat it with a pest spray, and we move on with our day. It still is producing beautiful foliage. We also do cut off like any leaves that are heavily infested, like this one, we cut it off, and that also helps keep them, you know, keep the spider mites under control. The point is not to try to eradicate them. Doing so, you probably will end up hurting your plant, treating it so harshly. So my method is just to kind of keep them to a minimum. I have a little potted plant right here that will be coming in this fall as well. This is a Pilea glaucoa, something like that. I'll put the name on the screen. It will be repotted, treated, and it will come inside. Now this Pilea is very sensitive to low humidity. It loves high humidity. It loves moist soil, so it does struggle indoors in most homes. It struggled in mine, and outside out here it thrives. So if I can keep it alive over winter to make it through to, you know, the following spring, great. If not, they are readily available at pretty much any greenhouse store. But it's so cute, tiny little leaves. It just looks so beautiful in so many situations, planting situations. So over here we have my cannas in these two pots. The cannas will be coming in this fall. They will be broken down to just bulb only or rhizome only, so no roots, no foliage, no soil. And they'll be stored in my basement, which is cool and dry. And then come spring, they'll be repotted, and summer they'll be planted back out here in the garden. Also with my potted elephant ears that you see over here, these guys are also dug up and broken down and brought back in the house, along with caladiums. Like any bulbs that are still doing good and they're healthy, they come inside. If they're not healthy, I don't bring them in. You want to bring in your most healthiest stock of rhizomes and bulbs, because that's what's going to produce for you again the following year. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions about bringing your plants in. I will be doing the outdoor repots on camera probably in the next few days, but today I just wanted to show you the things that are coming back in. It's basically the things that won't survive in the garden over winter, and things that I treasure. So there are things that I didn't show that are not coming back in, like, you know, begonias, petunias, things like that. Those things can go to the compost or die back to the soil. But anything that I treasure, houseplants that I love, anything that I want to see continue on through the next year, I'm bringing them back inside. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I do have more videos on my channel where I do break down the plants, and you can see that, and you can see the products that I use and how I get them ready to come inside. I'll link some of those videos in the description if anyone wants to watch those. But yeah, so let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.